We got a lot to record, so
Yeah.
Tear another time.
Is that
Yeah,
the
but
next
it's the Plasma Torpedo.
Is that another James Bond film? Tear another time? No. Okay.
No Tears for Fears.
We should work up a fake movie, whatever it's called, poster for that.
Definitely. With you guys as like in the poster, like Stars, do you want to be Halle Berry? That's
cool.
all I'm gonna ask.
No, I clearly want to be Michelle Yeoh.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think Stars and I should do a Charlie's Angel parody. That would go over real well.
Yes, but
How easy that'll be without us in the same room.
only modern Charlie's Angels with Patrick Stewart as Bosworth.
Yeah, is that that's new? That's new.
Yeah,
Charlie's
yeah.
Angels,
That's not the
old, new
McGee one. Anyway, welcome to Star Trek,
Christ.
Trek, Charlie's Angels Trek.
Where we're reviewing. Yeah, I was going to say we're reviewing Charlie's Angels today.
Yeah, in a way we kind of are, except there's only two of them and they do a really bad job at it. Voyager's Time and Again from season 1 of Star Trek Voyager, the Janeway and Paris special temporal paradox, second temporal paradox episode we've had in 2 episodes here on Star Trek Voyager. But this one was written by David Kemper, who also wrote Peak Performance. And
Yes, call him out by name. People
Yes.
need to know who did this.
It's your
That
fault.
guy wrote really
Peak Performance
Wow.
and The Enemy, which is the Geordie. He gets stuck on the planet, isn't he?
That's a great episode.
Yeah,
Golden
Roman.
Core.
Yeah, and the Golden Core. Yes.
Yeah, with the Centurion. Yeah, he's fucking cool.
Now this episode was
Wow.
directed
What
by.
a climb down.
I know. We're directed by Les Landau, he's done so much Star Trek, loads.
Yeah.
He's done like Encounter at Farpoint, Ensign Row, Unification, Time's Arrow, Broken Link, Heroes and Demons, Virtuoso, loads. He's basically been a staple of Star Trek lore, and I think this is not his best work. God, where do we start with this? I think we all started off going like, oh yeah, this episode isn't as bad as I remember, and then we all finished it kind of going, this was awful. What happened?
When I tell people I like Voyager, I'm thinking of like Paris on the planet in the episode Galaxy, pulling these deep emotions out of Tuvok and really great dialogue. And then people watch Voyager, and it's Tom Paris talking to some bratty 10-year-old who's like, "I'm writing about you in my school paper," and it's like, "Oh, this is why people
You're
don't like
imposters.
Voyager."
Yeah.
You did it. And you
So,
did it.
okay. You're asking about where we start with this episode, right? Okay.
Start with that kid. Oh my god.
No, let's not start with the kid. Let's leave the best for last, surely. That guy's going to win an Oscar.
It might already have. I don't know.
I have to bring up a problem I have, right? Which is, I hate when Star Trek does time travel episodes where time travel serves no thematic purpose.
I mean,
Because
the idea.
what is the point of the time travel aspect to this story other than to have the kinda neat paradox reveal at the end? But there's no, like, you have 2 stories here. You have a time travel story where you get sent back a day in the past. You have your Omega-13 moment where it's like, enough time to redeem a single mistake. And then on the other hand, you have nuclear power is dangerous. And these 2 should go
Yeah.
together, but they don't, because you don't bother to tie them together thematically at all. The time travel is just a device to make Janeway and Paris look suspicious and put them in a situation where they don't have any technology to use. It's like, good time travel episodes like Cause and Effect or Magic to Make the Saints Man Go Mad, it's all about character development, about theming, about repetition, about what we can use to break out of the cycles of our lives. And here it's like, we're here in the past, I guess.
So I think the idea from the episode, what they wanted to do was get a bit more Paris and Janeway action going on, because they're still in the early thread where they were trying to maybe play them as potential lovers, which I'm glad they didn't do.
Yeah,
but
and there's so much chemistry going on here.
there's really not a lot of chemistry with anyone in this episode. Everyone's kind of, we're 3 episodes in, everyone's kind of bored already. Like, even
There's some decent chemistry between the kid and that massive temporal bomb that kills him. I think that's
yeah, there's a lot of techno babble.
Rich explosive chemistry, one might say.
There's a lot of like Kess looking forlorn into the distance, trying to be all mysterious and weird. Yeah. By the way, the kid, it was called Brady Blum. The last thing he acted in was in Apocalypse Nerds
no,
in 2015.
that is not his actual character name, is it?
No, that's his. No, that's the actor that played him, Brady Blum.
Okay, right. I was going to say,
kid's
there's no
name is
fucking
Latika.
way that planet...
Yeah.
Right, yeah, whatever. I've already forgotten.
He's done a lot of stuff. He was the voice of Christopher Robin and a lot of Winnie the Pooh, and then he stopped acting in 2015 for unrelated reasons. I don't know. Apparently he's a
Someone
Latter-day
showed him
Saint.
time and again, and he was like, you know what, I've got to pack it in.
Oh, he's
Right,
most
hold on.
known for playing Billy in Dumb and Dumber. There you go.
Before we dive into the kid, which is probably going to be the bulk of this
That's
review.
the worst phrase
Yeah.
anyone's ever said. Go and carry on. Sorry.
Actually, I do like the time travel because, well, I don't like it. I think it's fine because
Yeah.
the paradox reveal is literally the only enjoyable part of this episode for me. I mean, like enjoyable as in not ironically because it's terrible and we
It's the
laugh
only
at it.
part of it that shows any kind of ingenuity, and it plays around with the temporal dynamics. But it's like the fact that you have two parts of the storyline. Where one is about you want to tell a kind of allegory about nuclear power, and the other one is a time travel device where you have the opportunity to like go back a day and fix a mistake. And then you don't use it to talk about either of those things. You spend 45 minutes waffling on about subspace fractures and about fucking,
Polaric
are
energy.
you guys spies from the government? Like, who cares?
Yeah,
Tell
those-
an interesting story about either of these things.
Yeah, but would you
the
have rather
ingredients are here.
would you have rather the kid had more dialogue instead of the nonsense from the
We've done a
Greenpeace
complete
guys?
rewrite. I would have done a complete rewrite.
Mm.
Like, there's nothing about this episode. You could take this episode, put it into TNG. You could have Patrick
yeah.
Stewart saying these lines, and it wouldn't make it anything other than the drabbest. Like, this isn't even like the dregs. This is what happens when you deep fry the dregs, and then there's like shit left on the pan that's like carbonized. That's what's left. It's just so watered down and nothing.
It
Like we were
feels-
talking
yeah.
about how hollow and tropey it feels. There's
Oh, very
nothing
much so.
here or substance.
This is go on.
We're like racing to just rant about
shit on this
how
show,
shitty
yeah.
this is. Executive story editor Kenneth Biller didn't like the portrayal of Latika, saying the show suffered
Really?
from child actor syndrome. If you
Yeah.
remember, there's a kid that Paris is accused of threatening, and you ultimately wish that he had.
I'm gonna feed you to the demons. No.
Dude, actually, okay, so the child he didn't have these. He provoked two positive moments from the show. One, when Paris threatened to eat him because he's a child-eating demon, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And two, you see a little bit of Paris's humanity when he's like, all right, this kid's annoying as shit, but he's going to die in about 12 hours. So I do feel
Yeah.
bad for him. He's like, sorry, kid, you're on your way out. So those two moments were nice. But the kid
And
had
then they
nothing
proceed
else.
to save him, and god damn it, that's the worst thing you could have possibly done, Paris.
Yeah.
That boy's gonna grow up to be an awful human being.
I like how Kes
don't
walks
know.
onto the bridge and just like spaces out, and no one but Neelix, who gaslights her the entire episode, and like just saying no, those are just stories, and like
dude.
everyone just proceeds to ignore until she goes, no, I can. Does her best Deanna Troi
Way to
moment and goes-
mansplain her own culture and her own race to her.
And he does
you
it like 3
fucking
times in the
asshole.
episode until the EMH turns up and goes, "No, you're actually like you're precog." Anyway, bye. And Neelix just stands there like, "You hitting on my lady?"
You know what I also
Well,
just
that's true.
realized?
Doc is actually another good part of the episode. I did
Yeah,
forget
we're all
about
going to be fighting each other to be the best part. The doctor. You know what I also just realized, right? Is that even if this episode had like really juicy character development for Paris or like a really good, like moral dilemma for Janeway, it all gets undone at the end anyway. This is literally the most pointless episode of Voyager
Kinda
ever
is.
because it literally didn't happen. It didn't happen.
There isn't really a
It's
moral
a fake.
to the
It
story.
didn't happen.
Apart
It
from
was
like,
all a deception.
Janeway has a breakthrough and goes, "Oh, actually, no, fuck the Prime Directive. I'm going to tell them everything to save them." And like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
undone.
then that
There
development
isn't-
is immediately underwritten.
She encounters the Resistance from a bad RPG. Like, who are you? Well, we're the Resistance. By the way, we have this quest for you. Blah blah blah.
it's weird because so in one essence you're right, the characters didn't actually develop on screen, but for the viewer they did. You learned that Paris can be compassionate. You learn that Janeway will fuck the Prime Directive at the drop of a hat. They do show a little bit more of Chakotay and Tuvok, the infighting, which for people who say the show is resets at the end of every episode, and they're not wrong. We did get a little bit carry through
The
from
problem is that
the
all of this
antipathy
is
there.
already done in Caretaker, and Caretaker at least like devoted time to it and made people emote. Whereas here, all of these things are very, pardon me, muted and just very. There's no like we said, there's no chemistry going on here apart from the child's like body going out the window. Like fucking.
Okay, let's
Just-
talk about
it's
these
no
shitty
propulsive power.
non-aliens. Zero
Yeah.
effort. Not
Yeah.
a trill spot. They give them
No.
literal human guns.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely nothing about them that
I'm
is any other than
surprised-
the pajamas that no one else would wear. That's the only thing they
Yeah.
do to differentiate them.
I'm surprised Tom Paris didn't say, "Oh, a primitive gunpowder projectile" or something like that. You know.
You know what? I would have given them points if there had been a name check of the planetary, a parallel planetary Earth development theory, you know, Hodgkin's
yeah.
law or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If they had said that, I would have been like, cool, you get an instant pass because you bring up that funny idea. That shit's hilarious. I'm sorry, every time they bring it up, it's hilarious, but they don't.
No.
And it's meant to underscore the allegorical nature of the story, right? It's meant to be these are just like us. Look, they even use guns like us, and it looks like us, and. But then they don't do anything with the story. Like, there's no actual meaningful debate about nuclear power or its dangers or its upsides here. It's all just plot ex machina to get to the next boring scene where someone points a gun at another character.
There's
a lot of that
filler.
going on in
a
here.
lot of filler in this episode
Yeah.
of them just going this science talkie point and that's this experiment and then this science talkie point and oh we're breaking through and oh no wait you monsters it was us all along how could you?
You know what? Would have helped here? Imagine that scene happens where like they're having the weird demonstration outside the power plant, but a third character gets like knocked on the head or whatever, and it turns out that guy actually is from the government and he is like a government stooge who's meant to be infiltrating them. And then you can have a conversation about this world between people who are invested in it and who want to protect it versus, you know, who are like, oh,
But they've got 40
I'm just
minutes
a...
and everyone needs a line because that's what they're billed for.
I guess, but like,
No, Stars, you were closer when you said just rewrite the whole thing. Let's not
Yeah.
add. Let's not add an
Yeah.
amnesia subplot. Like that's never made any story better.
oh no, not an amnesia subplot. Like, literally have the guy get knocked on the head just like Janeway, so he has a reason to fall in with them. And it turns out that he's the character that they think Janeway and Paris are. Because it's like, you know what the other problem is that this planet is so utterly untextured. There's no like history to it. Like they mention an accident at another power plant, and that's the only thing we ever get about this planet of note, right? Apart from the fact that it uses polaric energy.
Well,
and it's like,
we know they have dog tracks.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's really hard to give a shit about the planet when the two sides of the like your thing are people who live on this planet who care and people who are on a ship and who don't give a fuck because they literally got here 5 hours ago. Like they don't no there's no reason for these characters to give a shit about each other, and they don't. You just
And they're
bobble on
demons.
until the next like contrivance.
Demons
Yeah,
from
and
the so can we talk about the amount of tropes there were in this episode? So, oh, we're just from the next town over. There's another one. Oh, and there's the whole gunfight scene where he's like, I am wounded and now I am dying. Go on without me, Catherine. And you know,
You know what? That reminds me of something that Otto said about Magic to Make Sins Go Mad, right? Which is that, like, he said in that episode that one of the characters should have died earlier on so that you feel the stakes more. You should have had Paris just die.
yeah. Although
What
you wouldn't
purpose
have had
does
his
it serve for him
amazing
to survive?
timekeeping skills. He can look at any clock and work out the difference in time, no matter if the sun's at a different angle or if the planet rotates at a different speed. He's there. He's got it. Like he's borderline
He's human
genius.
sundial Tom Paris. But yeah, like, have him die. Like, what purpose does it serve? Like, you're already gonna unwrite the episode anyway.
Yeah. Apart from bonding with the kid in like 5 seconds at the end of the episode, he doesn't really do a lot.
Yeah, exactly. He exists to be compassionate and then
Well-
gets shot.
He is Rain Man because he's got an incredible mind for numbers, apparently, which
Yeah.
we learn.
Yeah.
It does feel, it felt low budget to me too. I know they said that they had planned to do a little more set dressing early on when they flip between the damaged future planet
Yeah.
and then, which we didn't even get a name for, and then like the happy, healthy, nuclear powered planet. So, but just everything, like even the location stuff, just felt like kind of like college kids went out and filmed stuff with their handheld.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Which is
yeah.
surprising from Les Lando, like considering the body of work that he's had. Like this just feels like maybe this was his like, okay, I'm here, let's film that, and it's lunch.
It's very workmanlike, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of I almost wonder if this was an episode that we were meant to get more of a scale of things like, that were changed, more of an alien feel, and then maybe it got scaled down because they had to massively reshoot Caretaker, and it was like this was considered the easy one to hit and
maybe.
change.
Yeah,
Like,
they
because
can
I know
walk around
that
the
was
corner,
probably
can't
quite
they?
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people don't look like aliens. There's like not much time to rewrite the script to make it legible. It's like, right, we've had this idea and just it's by the numbers, temporal plot, cliche moment, techno babble. Punch it, get it out of there.
The
Yeah.
most scathing thing I can say about this episode is it's the argument for the 10 episode serialization format. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's never been a more filler episode of Star Trek than this.
Definitely not. How
Yeah.
about we cut to the chase and do some best and worst moments. Okay. Auto, let's start with you. Best and worst moments.
I'm all locked in today, although my mind just blanked. So the worst moment is the scene that you just mentioned where enemy at the gate and some guy comes out with a little pineapple logo.
Well, who are you guys?
He looks like the bad guys from Friday's Child. You remember, like the high T ear, and they throw
Yeah.
the little boomerang that makes a slide whistle noise. He's got the same outfit as them.
Do you know how
They've
much
got
like security
literally-
there is on like nuclear power plants in this country? It is
Yeah, there's
borderline.
3
You have
guards.
to be vetted like 15 times. You have to have like recommendations, and you have to have
A
constant
nuclear
like,
power
security.
plant, incidentally, where shots were fired yesterday after a violent demonstration at the fucking
Yeah.
gate.
No, it's one guy, and everyone's apparently on a lunch break. Sorry, carry on, Auto.
Not even any workers.
Forget what I was gonna say now.
Oh, sorry.
You're talking about the scene with the pineapple guy.
Oh yeah, and so then the best moment is the paradox reveal. That's like the only legitimate. They did it. They tried with some technobabble early on for whatever it's worth, but the only real like legitimate this is great Star Trek feel to me is the reveal there. So
Yeah.
Okay, stars. Best.
All right. Well,
Worst
I'm
moment.
gonna ruin your life right now, Adel. I'm gonna say best moment is the entire scene with the Doctor and Cass.
It's fine.
Because guess what? That's the only part of this episode that requires this to be set on Voyager. If you didn't have that
Yeah.
episode, that part with the Doctor where he's like, "Oh, why don't I have your medical histories?" "Oh, well, the previous ship's doctor was dead, and we didn't, like we just came aboard." And it's like, "Oh yeah, and you would have had been onboarded by the ship's doctor, who is me, who doesn't get told shit, of course." And then there's the whole other crew, and then he's like, and you can just see the EMH. The EMH's personality forms in that one moment, and he decides he's going to be annoyed for the next 7 years.
I should take a. Oh,
And it's like, stuff like, yeah, I should take up opera. I should take up holo programming. I should wear a smoking jacket. It's like, she's the healthiest member of her species that I've ever seen. The only member of the species I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Don't forget to turn the program off before you leave. Like,
He's
I kind
very
of wish that
chipper,
had been
wasn't
turned
he?
into a
Yeah.
catchphrase. Yeah, no, because he's just like, fuck it, I'm along for the ride. But like, that's the most charisma and energy anyone brings to any of their scenes. So that's the best moment by far.
I think that his bon vivant personality in that moment just served to highlight how absurd the rest of the episode was. 'Cause people are trying to
Yeah.
get real serious about this real serious
Yeah.
disaster, but it just wasn't that serious because you had the child actor, you had the candy corn suits, you had the real guns. It's like,
Yeah.
no. The doc
Yeah.
called you guys out on that one.
Yeah, I think worst moment would have to be. Oh god, there's so much to choose from. How do I choose just one? Probably when they first appear on the planet Back in Time, and the kid just screams, and then it's like
wearing
the
pajamas.
god is like, "You've been reading too much Darkstorm comics, child. Go along and have some sleep in a confection bar."
Oh yeah,
And
the
it's like-
confection bar. Yes.
Like, fuck off.
That
Fuck off
just,
with
that
your
just says like we
garbage.
have this point in the script. We need to come with an alien language, so I'm just going to put confection bar in brackets, and then they ran with it. It's like no, you're supposed
Not
to
even
put a
like
name in there.
call it like a Chocovat bar.
Yeah,
call
some
it
Glaznock
Chocovat.
nuts. Get some of those.
Yeah, what? Literally that easy. Just scramble the words around. You're a fucking sci-fi writer.
I can't
you
eat a
damn
confection bar.
asshole.
I'm allergic to confection.
By the way, I'd like to remind people that the story was penned by David Kemper. Carry on.
Yeah. Okay. You can keep her on. Yeah. Like it's so stock and boring, and these characters have no life to them. I don't give a shit about this planet. Like that's the problem with when Star Trek is at its most academic and its most boring. It's like a planet is going to explode because of their own short-sightedness. What should you do? And it's like, I don't care. Like, and then it's like the reason you make how do you make me care? You give these characters names and you give them personalities and you give me reasons to be invested in them. You give me like that old man who like thinks that Janeway is his daughter and is gonna wants to break into the jail because he thinks his wife is in there. You give me, that one monk that freaking comes aboard and he gets drunk because he's never drunk anything in his life and he has no enzymes to deal with alcohol. Give me a character. Give me someone who has a larger-than-life bon vivance about them.
You don't need to. They're from the Kanto
effervescence,
province.
a
That says
passion.
it all. That says it all.
Like, yeah, it just... There is not a single character in who I give a shit about, and that includes the main cast apart from the EMH in this episode. Everyone is bland as like the most unbuttered toast.
And your best moment?
Star Trek's morality play stuff is the best, where they first set a good story, they draw you in, you're following along with the story, and then you get that little hitch. You're like, oh, okay, they're telling the allegory. It's that little moment where you're like, all right, they're drawing the parallel. In this one, there was no such switch to flip. From the beginning, they're like, these are just humans, and we're going to tell you the allegory, like nuclear power, right from the start. There's no subtlety there. There's no nuance. They don't even draw you into the story first before flipping the switch on you, which
Absolutely,
it's almost like an insult to my intelligence. Like, I don't mean to pull out that cliche, but it's
Kind
like,
of is.
come on, guys, throw us a little bit more than just Trek
No.
My Babel.
You know what this episode is? This episode is like if Chakotay was telling that story about the scorpion and the frog to Janeway in Scorpion, and then he just said there was once a scorpion and a frog who wanted to cross the river. The scorpion killed the frog. The end. Like that's the story. There's no attempt to build up a dialogue or a conversation. It's just croak, 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 and your allegory is complete. 45 minutes are now consumed. You're welcome.
Well done, yeah. There you go.
Enjoy
There's
your
a
bland, flavorless content.
I will eat
You
my
mean your
bland,
confection
flavourless
bar?
content. Yeah.
Enjoy your stock, dry, barely chocolate confection bar.
How many Kelto branded confection bars out of 10 is this episode?
Oh, we've got it already. Hold your horses. Hold your horses.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's going
What
to be
about you, Idol? What's your best and worst?
It's really hard to pick a best on this because I don't think there is one. I don't know if I can. I like
Paris'
Tom and...
hairstylist.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
God.
like Tom trying to convince Harry that... No, I don't even like that. That just feels very sleazy, Tom. I'm like, these two sisters. I don't know. It's just all so bland, isn't it? It's nothing... You've already stolen possibly the two that I may have picked. I'll go with my worst. I don't like how Neelix just mansplains to Kess. Like, he's like, no, they're just stories. No. And then later on, he does exactly the same thing. And then Tuvok does it as well. It's like, no. She's clearly a crazy woman. She can't detect things. Logic dictates. And like, Kess is just sitting there spacing out, just like, and I've just done too many fucking drugs, man. I can just see through space and time.
I wish that was the characterization we'd gotten. That would have been more interesting.
Whilst wearing her, was auto-described her Lego wig, which is not...
And her
fly-
Spider-Man X top.
Yeah, like a wig and Spider-Man.
I'm pretty sure they use that on Arachnia later, but I'm sure, yeah, someone come I cannot think of a best. I don't know. Is there
Come
a
on, you
best?
got
My
moment?
fleet of spider ships.
Maybe I like the idea of the plot, like being, oh, we caused it all along, but it's such a trope. It's if you like, imagine you live in a world where you've never seen any other television apart from these first 3 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. You'd think this is the most transcendent shit in the world. Like, oh my god, that's revolutionary. She went back in time and caused the very disaster they were causing in the first place. I'm like, no, have you not seen Planet of the Apes? But I don't know. I can't know. I
Man,
think
you know
the
what
more
would
I
have
talk
improved
about
this
it-
episode? If Janeway had fallen to her knees at the climax and been like, "You idiots! You blew it up!"
Yes.
Like that would have improved it.
And the fact that I don't know. I mean, Polaron's a cool word. We could use that for something, surely.
Polaric.
Yeah.
Polaric. Oh yeah, that's it. See, I've
You
even
can't even get
forgotten.
the word right. You're paying that little attention.
I just think the more I think about this episode, the angrier I get. So maybe I'm not going to put a best moment in.
Oh my god! Hang on! I've just seen the most damning accolade that this episode could have ever
Did it win a
achieved.
Razzie or
Okay?
something?
In 2019, Higgy Pop noted this episode as one of the time travel stories of the Star Trek franchise. It sure was.
It sure
It
was.
sure was a time travel episode.
Oh dear.
As one of, like, what? Damning. I fucking scrap the rest of the review. Just post that up. That's our review of this fucking episode. Christ.
Okay. Is our rating going to be... What did you say?
It's
Auto?
gonna be Calton brand
Yeah.
confection bars at
How
10.
many
Yeah.
bland Calton
I had
confection-
Calto brand confection bars, and I also had Darkstorm comics because I thought that was hilarious. It's very 90s, but no, the Calto brand confection bars is hilarious.
I'm going to break
Idle.
precedent.
We're starting with you.
I
this
was
time.
exactly what I was just about
Yeah.
to do. I'm going, fuck you, it's my show. One. One.
Oh, it is, young man.
I think it is a 1. I don't... Maybe a 1.5. No. I couldn't even think of anything good to say about it, and it's boring as fuck, so why would I watch this again?
Yeah.
One.
I can't argue that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be slightly more generous, and I'm going to give it 2 Calto brand confection bars out of 10. I would give it a 1 if not for that Doctor scene. I think that EMH scene is hilarious, but it's the only good part of it.
I'll go 1.5 for that then, yeah. I'll give a 0.5 for the... It was watchable, I wasn't
Right.
offended, and the Doctor was okay. Okay, Auto.
Yeah, I always remembered it being kind of a cheesy episode, kind of a filler episode. But this time through, I'm legitimately getting offended at how stupid they think the audience must be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not unwatchable. There's been episodes of Star Trek where I'm like, I just hit pause. I'm like, I'll try again later. It's not that bad.
Do you ever
It's
think
not
about the
that
fact that Buffy was airing alongside this? Buffy the Vampire Slayer was airing alongside
Christ.
this.
I might have to get
You're
into
watching
Buffy
Buffy.
if this is the alternative.
Yeah, alright. How many Calto brand confection bars?
Every time that phrase runs through my head, I drop another 1/10 of a point off. I think we're at... But, yeah, I got to say it out loud before it stops dropping. 2.8 Calto brand
2.8.
confection bars out
Wow.
of 10.
2.8.
I was-
You're
it was
far
gonna
more
be like
generous than
3
I.
It's going to be 3 point something, but it's just actually not good television.
It's just
not good
nothing
Star
good, yeah.
Trek. So Idle and I were talking last night. He's like, boy, we're kind of tough. Like the average is 6 point something. I'm like, well, we're averaging what we think the rating is for Star Trek, which we all love, and we're going from best to worst. Like, not only is this bad for Star Trek, this is like sub-basement regular television too.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. If I was gonna do one of those things where I'm like, oh, you only watch the good episodes or the important episodes of Voyager, this would make the cut instantly. This would be like, cut, gone. Don't even, I'm not even gonna look at it. Fucking save yourself 45 minutes and have like a really long jerk-off session instead. It's far more like, you get far more out of that.
If you love Voyager and you want other people to love it too, recommend that they not watch this one. You know,
So we've averaged
You know
this
what's
now...
awful?
So go on.
In 2017, Netflix announced that Time and Again was among the 10 most rewatched Star Trek episodes.
It's probably because it's at the start of
Why?
the season. They watch this and then they stop. They go, what? No.
it's true. They only have 4 Voyager episodes to rate because everyone quit after this one.
It's like, quick, someone's watching season 6 episode. What? Why are they doing that? They got past Time and Again.
Maybe-
Holy shit.
Maybe we shouldn't keep showing them the same clip from Caretaker over and over again.
Yes. So we've
And the one
rated
where they're
this...
going up the escalator in the airport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We have rated this a 2.1. So this is now...
Still too
I'm going
generous.
to do this new. I'm going to give a little update on where it sits in the rankings. So this is actually our 3rd worst rated episode so far, above Charlie X
really?
and Code of Honor, but not as bad as A Man Alone. We enjoyed A Man Alone a lot more.
That's about right. Yeah, I feel like this is. I agree with previous me.
You mean Huey Lewis and the Ooze?
Hulu isn't it yet? Thank you. It's very good.
Man,
Come on, take your victory lap, yeah.
We gave that guy so much shit in that episode, but man, just thinking about him brings me so much joy compared to Ty Nerla and the fucking dipshits in this episode.
Yeah. So well, I've been taking averages all over the place, and I've been rating Star Trek as a whole and what we think of it. This has taken it from a 6.1 to a 6.0 with the episodes so far that we've watched. This has lowered the
Changed it
quality.
by a whole 0.1.
This has taken a whole 0.1 off the average. So
Don't
there we
worry,
have
when
it.
we get to like season 4 or it's going to start going.
Absolutely,
gonna start
everything's
really
going to
going
start
up.
shocking up. But we're lowering the average already, so that's bad news. But if you want to see all these ratings and all the episode reviews, I know I'm going to do the shilly thing now because I have to. You could go to our
you have to.
website, which is trek-time.com, and have a little section on there for Star Trek Trek ratings. We'll have it all on there that should update when they air. And go check it out and come to our Discord and all that kind of jazz. And like and subscribe, blah blah blah, and do that as well. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with Enterprise's very own Strange New World. So keep an eye out for that and enjoy this.
Hey, guys, when we record that Enterprise episode, let's all remember what we're wearing today and put those same shirts back
Absolutely,
on.
we
You're
should.
right, we
Yeah,
should do that.
I'll make sure the
Coordination
lighting
is
the
important.
same. I'll make sure I've drunk the same
Yeah.
amount of tea as well, and the same bottle.
I'll make sure I've drunk exactly
Yeah.
this much Pepsi.
Yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
continuity check.
Can we please start the watch along with that? Okay. People need a sense of continuity. More continuity than time and again.
Guess what? That was the more fun scene that you'll ever see in time and again.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Live long and prosper. Ta-ra.